I can't believe I've never told you guys this story before, but here it comes. I was just sitting here thinking like, oh, I feel like recording something. I was like, what should I talk about today? And I'm thinking, and then I remember something really important that happened to me in prison that I've literally never talked about. So I'm sitting on my top bunk in prison and I'm reading a book, Summer Sisters by Judy Blume. I'd already read it when I was free, but it's a good book, so I just reread it. And I'm sitting there reading it, minding my business, and all of a sudden I heard my name. Amanda Cassio, please report to Building 2 Day Room. Amanda Cassio, please report to Building 2 Day Room. And I was like, Cassio? I think that's me. And so I go to the day room and they were like, are you Cassio? And I was like, well, I'm Cisco. And they were like, yeah. They were like, pack it up. You're going to ATU. There's a girl up there and she was kind of listening in on the conversation and she made like a sound. She was like, ooh, or something like that. And I was like, what? Like, what is happening? I've got one contact in. I'm like walking around, like squinting with my little dry contact, just not knowing what the heck is going on. Reassigned me a different bunk and suddenly I'm in this program called ATU. It stands for Addiction Treatment Unit. And nobody ever wanted to go to ATU. Well, maybe like 2% of the population, but most people didn't want to. And it's because the rules were so crazy. Like, let me tell you some of the rules and you're gonna agree. Okay, one of them was that anybody who was in the program, the ATU program, was not allowed to speak to GP, the general population. So there was like 30 girls in this program and they were literally not allowed to speak to anyone except for the girls in the program. But the entire premise of the program was you would always keep your eyes out and watch other people, and anytime they broke a rule, you would write it down and put it in this like box. So if you saw Tiffany and Tiffany was talking to a girl in GP, maybe she said, excuse me, while she was passing her or something, then another girl could write on a little piece of paper that said, Tiffany Johnson was talking to GP, and you had to do at least 2 of these every week. You had to, or you would get in trouble. So they're basically teaching us to narc on each other, but also to be aware of our surroundings and to be accountable to our actions. But I first heard this and I was like, not me. I'm not freaking narking on nobody. But I gotta be honest, I conformed and I started doing my part too. And so what would happen is like this day of judgment, I think it was like on a Monday or something, then everybody would get together in this room and then one of the counselors would take a piece of paper out and read it, the person's name. They had to stand up. The counselor would read the accusation, like what had been said about the person, and then the person had to say valid or invalid. Obviously, if they said valid to talking to someone in GP, they're going to be getting into some kind of trouble. But if they say invalid, they usually say it like very like invalid, you know, like no, I didn't do that. Then they get to defend themselves and then they get like drilled. And if you find out that they actually were talking to GP, like if there's another scrap of paper in there that says like from a different girl who said that they were talking to GP, then when the odds are against you, baby, you're getting in trouble. They had the power and ability to punish us beyond what the prison could punish us. For example, we got put on lockdown one time, and that meant that we weren't allowed to eat any of our canteen food. We weren't allowed to speak to one another at all. We could not say one word. We couldn't even use the phone to call our family. Like for 2 weeks, we're on lockdown. No TV, no books, nothing. Like, it was crazy. But you know what? I gotta give credit where credit is due. It taught me a lot about addiction. It taught me a lot about my like thinking patterns. Like they were so out of control. I learned about how to take responsibility for my actions, be aware of my surroundings, be hyper aware of my surroundings. And at our little graduation ceremony, one of the counselors said, out of all of you who are sitting in this room right now, maybe one of you will stay sober. And I was sitting there and I was like, it's me. It's gonna be me. And here I am 17 years later.